We're going to get this set up for the next batch, which is mashed potatoes. I have some mashed potatoes. I don't think I showed any of the making of mashed potatoes, but they're mashed potatoes. Some of them are from 4 or 5 months ago, a couple of the pans, and some of them are from a week or 2 ago. Anyway, we're going to get those loaded on the trays and put in here as soon as this is cold enough. So let's get this set to get it cold enough. The drain valve is closed. We're going to start with customize, as I always do. Check the shelf temperature, and I almost always have it at 120. For some kinds of fruits and things, I take it down a little bit, and for some kinds of candies, I take it up a little bit, but basically I leave it like that. Start custom, and continue. It's saying on here that it's about 57. The thermometer inside says it's about 61. As soon as it's below 0 degrees and dropping, then we'll get the food on the trays and put them in there. Because the food, the mashed potatoes, are already frozen, and that freezer's about 0 degrees. I'm not going to put it in a 60-degree freeze dryer when the food is 0. That's a 60-degree difference. It would start to thaw. There's just no need for that. We'll be back as soon as that's cold enough and get the food on the trays. The freeze dryer's been pre-cooling for about 2 hours now. It didn't need that long, but we gave it that long because I had to cook dinner and eat dinner. So now we're ready to get the stuff in the freeze dryer, and as I said before, we're doing mashed potatoes. We had an extra 6 pounds of mashed potatoes, so we put it in 6 1-pound pans. And a couple of those pans are in half-size pans, so we could fill up the tray better. Well, 6 pounds doesn't make a whole load. We can put 10 pounds in. Rooting around in the freezer, found 2 more 1-pound pans that are from November. And it's almost April now. So they kind of got lost in there, but they've been in the pans and then in a Ziploc bag. So usually after we finish the blocks and they're frozen, we pop them out of the pans and just leave them in Ziploc bags. Well, we didn't get them all popped out because we weren't in a rush and a couple of them got lost. That still won't fill up the freeze dryer, and I know I have 1 pan of buttermilk, so we'll probably put that on one of the pans also. And we'll weigh it separately because I want to be able to get it rehydrated back to what it is now, or what it was before it froze, in case we want to use it in a recipe. Because that's what we usually get it for, is for banana nut bread. I already know that these blocks are 1 pound, so I really don't have to worry about weighing those. And they were pretty carefully weighed. Okay, I got my space for the thermometer. I will weigh the total tray just because I like to know. This is one of the blocks that has been sitting in there since November that got lost. So the end of November. So it's only been all of December, January, February, March. It's only 4 months. And then I've got the half blocks. Can pop these out. And these are a 1/2 pound, of course. All right, there's tray 1, and I'll go ahead and weigh that because I would hate to not know. 1856 when it started, and I know that that would be 2.5 pounds. And then we'll add a thermometer. And I know I've said it many times, thermometers are not required, but I find them useful. Okay, tray 2. We'll start with one that has the stainless steel rod in it. And obviously you can tell these are the ones that did get taken out of the pan earlier. And another one of those old potato pans is starting to freeze dry in the freezer. 1853. And then we have 2 cups of buttermilk. So I know what these weigh. I'm going to double check the weight of this one, because this is 1.5 pounds. So I'll have 1.5 pounds of potatoes on there. And then we'll zero this out, get a tear weight. 406 grams of buttermilk. Got 1.5 pounds of mashed potatoes and 406 grams of buttermilk, which was about 2 cups. One of the reasons I weigh them at this point is I want to know how much food I have when I'm going to use it, or to know how much I have stored. Weighing it is certainly not required. You could get by just fine without weighing any of this. Except maybe the dry check. I wouldn't pass that up. Again, we have 1 pound and then a ½ pound. And we still have one more space on the tray. I'm gonna go see what else I can grab real quick. So I still had a 1½ pound block of scalloped potatoes from ages ago. I'm going to put that on there. That's going to overload this a little bit. And again, because I pre-weighed all these, I know these are 1.5 pound blocks. We obviously have a mixed batch of items, and that's going to cause a little bit of a problem with the time. This block is going to take much longer than these to freeze dry, simply because this is a very thick block in comparison to these. So this is a 1.5 pound block. It's going to take much longer. 2077. All of that is ready to go in. This is tray 4, but I'm not going to put it in the tray 4 position. I'm going to put it in the 3rd position because the 3rd one dries faster than the 4th one, and this big block needs faster. So it's showing that it's been running for almost 2¼ hours, and it's showing -42 on the tray right now. Let's get them in and get that started. And as I said, I'm going to put this one on this 2nd spot up because I know that block is going to take the longest. This one with the buttermilk, I don't remember how fast buttermilk goes, but the other two should be very similar to each other. Oh yeah, I can't put that disc in. I really want to put the disc in. It doesn't fit on here. Either I need to change my seal back, or I need to make another disc to fit this seal. Or I could try the new seal to see if it will fit this combination. Okay, instantly we have a ring around there. It's well sealed. It'll be done in about 2 days. And because of the time of day, the fact that it's, I don't know, 8 or 9 at night, we might not be taking them out of there until the day after 2 days from now. So what day is today? Friday. So these are supposed to be done probably Sunday sometime, but I may not take them out until Monday because of the big block of scalloped potatoes and Easter and all of that. So we'll see. It'll be freezing for about another 4 hours, and then it'll start and go through all of the cycles, and we'll be back to see it when it's time to start the dry check. So don't go away, it'll be just a second. I'm back to check the mashed potatoes, and there's a couple of other items in there. You just saw them. I don't know what they were. I'll have to check it. It says that it's been about 47¼ hours ago. The thermometers inside told me about 4 hours, 5 hours ago that they were actually timed to check, or that they were ready to be checked. But it's Easter. We had people over, so I just let it keep running. Chances are they were done quite a while ago. So we'll get them out of there and just start the dry check to make sure that they were done, because we don't guess, we check. So I'm going to just use the down arrow to get past the rest of the time, and it says that the vacuum pressure is 234 right now, 233, so it's still dropping. Get the drain valve open, and as soon as the pressure equalizes, we'll be able to get that door open. And starting with tray 1. Very warm tray still. $9.99. That's amazing, there's not that much water in mashed potatoes. Tray 2, $9.93. Tray 3, this is one that had the buttermilk also, $9.39. Oh yeah, tray 4. That's the one that might be the problem one. I forgot about that one. Should have had the thermometer in that one. Okay, $10.79. I'm going to see if I can flip this around and stick the thermometer into this block. Okay, let's see if we can get that back in there that way. Now, I'm pretty sure that there's ice inside there still. I'm not going to rotate these two trays because I know that this scalloped potato one is much thicker. It's going to take longer to dry. All of the mashed potatoes are probably going to be done, and that one's not going to be done. In fact, if I'd had the thermometer in this block, I wouldn't have even stopped the machine yet, because that block's not done. The thermometer's still dropping, and I didn't even get it to the coldest spot, which would be about 2/3 of the way down to the bottom of the block. So it's actually touching ice right now. So the other trays may be done, and I can bag those ahead of time, but that one's not going to be done. So it's showing about 116 degrees on that tray, about 114 degrees on that tray, about 104 degrees on that tray, and about 24 degrees on this tray. This is one of those examples of how the machine is easy to fool, and it can't possibly tell you if the batch is done, because I put 3 different kinds of food in there. They were all blocks, but one of them was much thicker, and because the machine is looking for the overall pressure and the fact that it's expecting all the trays to act kind of the same, it has no way of knowing that the scalloped potatoes will not be done in 3 hours. We'll get this restarted, get the drain valve closed. Okay, so more dry time. Drain valve is closed, continue, and get that running. So we'll see you back in about 3 hours. So don't go away, it'll be just a second. It's the next day. I didn't take these out yesterday for 2 really good reasons. One, it was Easter, and so I was too lazy to get around to it. And most importantly, that block of scalloped potatoes was still only up to 40 degrees after 5 more hours. It wasn't ready to come out. The rest of it was almost 100% chance that it was done, but I didn't want to mess with the rest of them late last night and then still have to come back to it today. Well, now it's many hours the next day because I didn't get up in the morning. I never do. Now we're going to get it out and test it. Again, the scalloped potatoes will have lost weight. We will be putting that back in for more time because we won't know that it's done. So it has been up to temperature for at least a couple hours now, so it's likely that it could be done, but we won't know until we weigh it again a few hours from now. The rest of them, if they didn't lose any weight from that previous weighing, they've had a lot of hours now. We'll take those out and bag those and leave just the one piece in. So let's get them out and check them. We'll bypass the rest of the time. Right now it says that the pressure is 156. That's nice. We'll down arrow past the rest of that, open the drain valve and check them. It's been about 20 hours since I did the first dry check, and so it's likely it's done already. Okay. Tray 1. So this dry check has been about 8 hours because of the other block, and it's gone down a single gram. I'm going to take that out. Tray 2. 992, again 1 gram in about 8 hours of dry. Tray 3, 0, so no change in all of that time. And this one, there's virtually no chance that there won't be change on it. And there's a big change on that because of the scalloped potatoes. 1041. So I'm going to take these out and leave that in because we know that these were pre-weighed at a ½ pound and 1 pound, so I can use that. So we'll move those over. And I'm going to move this toward the middle of the tray, and we'll get the weight on it now is 895. So that piece itself with the tray is 895. So then we'll be able to check that. And I'll put it up here and we'll get that restarted. The rest of these will move over to the bagging area. We're going to get that restarted. So more dry time. Close the drain valve. It's closed. Continue. Not going to worry about that. So you can see I gave it 4 hours. The normal dry check is only 2 to 3 hours, 4 for some of the slower moving items. For this, it would normally be just 2 or 3, but I have to be somewhere in just over 2 hours, so I can't take it out, check it, bag it, and all that in 2 hours from now. So it's better just to give it more time. If there's any more water, it'll come out, so that's fine. If there's not, it'll stay the same, so that's fine. Once all the air is pumped out, there's not any oxygen in there, or so little that it's not a problem as far as oxidation, so it's not going to oxidize. So everything's good to just leave it in there extra time, and it's the safest way I can do for keeping it going for the next 4 hours. Now to the bagging. Mashed potatoes are done, and you can see these two look considerably different than the others. These are some from like 5-6 months ago that I'd forgotten about. Those are just plain mashed potatoes. These other ones are fully loaded mashed potatoes. So they have a little bit of butter mixed in with some shredded cheese and some bacon bits. So this is what is real mashed potatoes. That is just starter mashed potatoes. And then of course we have the 1 block of buttermilk that we'll take care of also. With all of these, I'm going to just put a pound in each bag. So basically a full-size block in each bag. And I'm going to keep the older mashed potatoes separate from the newer mashed potatoes because, again, they're a different recipe. One of the things I want to consider is what size bag they need to go in. That was 410 grams when he started. I'm going to go ahead and lift this one up. Whoa. That's just going to completely fall apart instantly. Okay. So that's down to just 44 grams now. Make sure it's not being supported. 44 grams. I've got my label on there, got the batch number up here in case this label fails. Got all the information about how to rehydrate it. And I'm going to try to kind of crumble this up because there's just going to be powder. I guess I could put it in a Ziploc and crush it. It's just going to come right apart. Should fit very nicely in that bag. That fit quite easily into a pint bag. It would have fit into an even smaller bag. We'll get the rest of them bagged, and then we'll get oxygen absorbers in all of them and get them sealed. All the trays of mashed potatoes seem to be about the same weight, and these mashed potatoes have less structure than these because of all the extras. Okay, I'm going to weigh all of the potatoes so I can get an average weight and see if they compare the same as those. 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are 4 pounds. So these average out to just a little more than 96 grams per pound, and so did the ones on these trays. So I think that's a fair enough number to use. So on this set, I finally remembered that I should add with cheese and bacon, so I just penciled that in so I'd know that this set has cheese and bacon, like mashed potatoes should. So I'm going to use this little flexible cutting board and just stuff that in the bag. And I'll take one of the blocks, and then I'm going to break it up slightly into the bag. So I'm just putting it in there and then crushing it lightly. If these mashed potatoes, well, these are homemade mashed potatoes, so it's not really an if. Because these mashed potatoes will have some lumpy bits in, I don't want to powder it completely because, to me, homemade mashed potatoes should have little potato bits in it. If it's completely powdered and flaked, well, then you might as well just use store-bought spray-dried potatoes. It's not the same. These are almost that, but there's still, even with these, there's still some bits in it. And kind of tap that, shake those pieces off, and then that one's filled. And once again, I probably could have used a smaller bag with this, but this would allow me to rehydrate it in this bag very easily. But that's just making excuses because I just should have used a smaller bag. Too late now. And the price difference between a pint bag and a quart bag is only a few cents. The fact that I've pre-weighed them in 1 pound blocks would mean there's no reason that I'd have to weigh them afterwards. I can just bag them, and even the amount of water I could just add enough to get back to a pound. These are the light fluffy ones. I definitely should have used 1 pint bags on all of these potatoes. But as I said, it's too late now and I'm not changing them. These are 300cc oxygen absorbers, and I use 300s in most everything. That way I don't have to keep a bunch of different sizes in stock at all times. We do have a few hundreds that came with sets of the pint. Sometimes if we don't get a huge amount of some of the things, we'll buy them as sets. That way we have the bag and the oxygen absorber at the same time. And if you've been watching for a while, you know that we only use the 7mm Mylar bags. The 5s are probably good for a good long time, but the 7s cost just a few pennies more, and they're 2mm thicker, which means they have a lower oxygen transmission rate, assuming everything else is built the same with the bag. Okay, I've got oxygen absorber in each one, and I'm going to press out any extra air on these because the bag is so oversized. I didn't pay attention when I started that I could have used a pint bag for all of these potatoes. That would be a good thing to note in my notes, is that if I'm doing 1 pound of mashed potatoes, what size bag that I could use. Then I wouldn't have to test it out each time, because these obviously could have fit in a pint bag. Now I'll get these all heat sealed, and twice for that first one as always. Check it, make sure that I have a seal, let it cool for a few seconds, and then check, make sure that it actually sealed, doesn't just look like it's sealed. If the sealer's bad, it can still leave that print on there, but not get hot enough to melt the inner layers together. Okay, I've got it very high, with room for 2 or 3 more tries if I've messed it up. Or if I want to open it and use a bit and reclose it. Well, that one I got too high, so it only has part of it. So I'll do it one more time. As usual, writing the total weight of the bag on the bag. Writing the gross weight on there, so if it has a problem later, I don't know. Well, those are ready for storage, but as you know, I've got one more block in the freeze dryer still, the scalloped potatoes, and I'll come back to that in a couple hours. This batch numbers will not be very representative of what it really takes to do most freeze drying. The scalloped potatoes being so much thicker, 1.5 pounds in the 7x7 pan, they do take a lot longer. And I think they were 50 or 60 hours, but it's showing 70 something hours, 73 hours, because it sat overnight for a while, and then I had to leave for a while today. It's probably been done for a while, but we won't know until we check it. So let's get them out of there and check it. Going to bypass the rest of the time. Open the drain valve and let the air in. And as soon as it's equalized, we'll be able to open it. Okay. And that's toasty hot right now because I didn't let it cool at all. So in 4 more hours, it's gone down just a single gram. We're going to take it out and say that that's done. There's only a single in 4 hours. So I'm going to hit no defrost, make it much quieter. We'll get the little defrost baffle in there. Now let's go get that bagged. For this kind of block, I like the flat ones. The top is up here, so you're actually loading the bottom. Yep, missed. So got that in there. And because I'm going to cut the bag off and seal it close, so it's still only going to be about a quart in here. The block is down there. I'm going to go here. Going to cut off the excess. And I'm going to round the corners. If I cut the corners off, I like to round them so that it doesn't stab the bag next to it. And this piece I'll keep for testing the machine, or who knows, I could make a very narrow bag out of it. So I could do a half a dozen pieces of asparagus in there. Now, oh, I didn't need to round that one yet because I'm going to cut that corner off to suck some of the air out. Okay, I'm going to all right. I'll round those because, again, I forgot. That won't be anywhere close to a quart, so using the little 300cc is plenty for that. And because this is the heavy Mylar bag, the heavy 7mm one, I don't have to worry about anything poking through that because it's just a very tough bag. All right, and the earlier set from a few hours ago are getting all the oxygen is getting absorbed out of those even as we speak. They're getting much smaller already. So that's all for this set. We'll see you on the next one, which I don't know what it's going to be. We've got a variety of things that I'm supposed to have done already. We have some number 10 cans that we're going to do, and I still have those canned beans to take care of, which I have, some of them are in the freezer waiting, and I need to finish those up. So I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.